What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one, as it is day 3 of Dolphins training camp. It has wrapped up. They are off tomorrow, but they're back at it on Sunday, and it'll be the first open practice to fans. And you know your boy will be live on Sunday, so be on the lookout for that one, because I believe starting Sunday, they have practice on 9 of the next 11 days that are open to fans. So we're about to get into the thick of it, people, and that's when I'll be hopefully getting some exclusive footage for all of y'all. So, man, it's about to pop off. It's about to pop off. But today was a day where the defense was clearly dominant. Now, I know people are worried about, okay, well, was the offensive line that bad? Well, there was a tweet earlier today from Omar Kelly, and he basically said, everyone was an issue. It wasn't just the O-line. He said play calling, quarterback, tight ends, wide receivers, running back. He basically said everyone got their ass handed to them today. So, I talked about this on Twitter. It's good to see that defense come together under the circumstances they're currently dealing with. Listen, they could have folded in, packed it up, said sayonara, but instead today they came out like a pack of dogs, ready to rip and shred the competition apart. Again, are the pads on? No, but still, the defense looking sharp today. They worked on their blitzes and such today too. So, and it was indoors due to lightning. So, hey, listen, I don't want to hear iron sharpens iron until, all the way up until this point. And then I don't want to hear people now start complaining that the defense is putting that work in. Because, let's be honest with ourselves. That first day, Tua Tagovailoa sounded like he was in midseason form. And the defense, and I took that personally. And they came out here, and they've been putting the work in, man. That defense. And let's be honest, I want a top 5, top 10 defense. So I need this Fangio defense to have its dominant days of practice. And on top of that, another thing here too is, let's be honest here, that defensive front, we knew how dominant it would be. And, I don't think this is just a thing you're going to see against the offense and our own offense in practice. This is a recurring theme you're going to see all year. So, another thing that's kind of being not talked about too is, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill doesn't look as, how do I say this? He doesn't look as explosive and as dominating as he did early on last year when we acquired him at this time heading into training camp. And it's been noticed by a few of the reporters. We've talked about the drops on here. They're clearly. And remember, that offensive line, even still, right now, that offensive line, it's, there's no Isaiah Wynn's not out there, right? Taron Armstead's not out there. So we're still missing bodies on that offensive line as well, too. But that defensive line apparently had double-digit sacks today. So we're going to get into all of it. You don't have to worry. We're going to cover it all. I got your comprehensive training camp coverage taken care of right here. So, but, I know, listen, first of all, the pads haven't even gone on, so nothing matters either way yet. Let's be honest with ourselves. All right? Now, in terms of Jalen Ramsey, we're going to get into all the details of that soon enough here. But, and speaking about replacements, remember, there's a guy who I talked about adding on the cheap when we were looking at free agents and we were looking at depth. A guy that I talked about adding on the cheap was Troy Hill. Troy Hill has experience in this defense, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you also got Bryce Callahan is out there too for the Chargers. You got a couple options out there right now. Hell, you got a safety option in John Johnson out there right now that you could add. But Troy Hill was someone I talked about during free agency as a cheap depth piece who's familiar with this scheme. And he's out there, and Bryce Callahan's out there, and there's a few other guys that can fit the scheme if we need to add someone. So, listen, is this Ramsey situation ideal? Hell no. But A, no use crying over spilt milk. B, we still got a whole hell of a lot of talent on that defense. And if he can get back by December, that's right in time for the playoff push. Listen, is it ideal? No. But you gotta deal with the hand you were dealt. Matthew, signing Wilkins does not affect signing Dalvin Cook. In fact, if you were to sign Christian Wilkins, you free up more cap space. So paying Wilkins does not affect signing Dalvin Cook. So those two do not go hand in hand. Anyways, let's get into everything here. Let's start off because we do got a lot to go over today. Let's start off. I've clipped up out of Mike. Well, let's go in chronological order here, okay? Let's start off with Dalvin Cook. Let's get into the Dalvin Cook stuff, all right? Now, I dropped a Patreon-only 3 takes episode yesterday. I didn't have time. Maybe I will tonight. Put it into written format and put it on the community board for all of y'all who are channel members. I'll give you the written version of it tonight. But I just didn't have time yesterday. And anyways, I had a big update on Cook, things I was hearing about Cook. Eazy-E, big update on Eazy-E, and where I see where I'm hearing his positional value and his usage is going to come into how it's going to come into play this year. And then 2 guys getting legitimate shots for backup spots. So it was a pretty good 3 takes. But Dalvin Cook was one of the main subjects. And, my Patrons, they understand how I'm hearing so many different things in regards to this. But then I asked the question, there was a reason why me and Neil yesterday talked about Dalvin Cook using the Jets' visit to leverage a better offer out of the Miami Dolphins. And the Patreon update went into further detail and highlighted why that was even a question. Well, after today, I continue to ask that question, and we're going to play some clips here because it is clear he is continuing to try and leverage this thing into a better offer from the Dolphins. Russell says, I think it's time to give Cook the money he wants. A great run game helps the defense as well. Fins up. And then he's provided the GoFundMe for his friend who is in need. So help out if you can. So let's get into this because the morning starts off with, I ain't ever heard a plea to up an offer. I mean, let's just get into this. Let's talk about this, okay? So Dalvin Cook was on Good Morning Football. And this is where he talked about the Dolphins. And let's listen to what he says.
If you played your high school and college ball in Florida, everyone was connecting you to the Dolphins this offseason, even us. Mm-hmm. We understand there may have been an offer made to you, but maybe not quite what you were looking for. How much thought have you put into playing for your hometown team, and is playing in Miami still something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I'm still weighing my options. This thing is not over. Playing in my hometown would mean so much for me, my community, for my family, for just everything around it. It's a Cinderella story. It's just something that'll bring so much joy to the city, and I know what I could bring to the city. So it'll be big for the city and for myself.
You go with either one of those teams, you see your brother twice a year in the division. That must be really cool. Have you thought about that?
Giving my mama a heart attack, man.
Really? Oh, no. She has to get the split jersey.
She be nervous as it could be, just being out there. But it'd be fun, man. just making him better, like pushing him, just talking that trash to him. I want to know against him, so we good.
That was a game last year. That was a game last year.
Was it? Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, so listen. You know, right there he says playing in his hometown would be a Cinderella story. I mean, this guy, again, I'm going to tell you this much. I was reiterated again today. Dalvin Cook wants to be in Miami. You know, listen, I've been told by now 3 people, and I go into great detail in this on my Patreon. I've been told by 3 different people, all right? 3 different people connected to the Cook camp, all right, that, you know, this is all about trying to get a better offer out of Miami. That this whole play, unless there is an offer on the table that, you know, you made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Unless there's something like that, I've been told this is to leverage. This is to leverage. So, you know, and I go into further detail, and listen, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're going to see how this plays out. And, you know, you hear that, and he's talking about, I ain't hear him asking Aaron Rodgers to put a glass slipper on his foot. He's asking Chris Greer to put the glass slipper on his foot in his Cinderella story. And now you look at what he said to CBS. Listen to what he said to CBS today.
Right there in the mix. Like you said, that's my
Talking about
hometown.
Miami. Right there in the mix.
Always being home is always good, especially for me. That's my city. I love my city. I love giving back to my city, to the community, to the kids, and everything about it. So, you know, they right there at the top of the list too.
I mean, right there. The Miami's right there at the top of the list too. I mean, we know this. We know this. I told all y'all. He's trying to get. It's all about. Everyone thought him to Miami was a lock. Everyone thought it. And, you know, this is all about. Listen, you got to put an offer up, Chris Greer. You know, he's going to get an offer from the Jets. And I've said from day one, the understanding on both sides, not just one Cook's camp, but on both sides, from the Dolphins I've heard and from Cook's camp I've heard, is that they are going to have a chance to match any offer he's willing to accept. Well, we're going to find out real soon. I'm going to tell you this much, because unless the Jets don't up their offer and keep it at around $5 million and he just scoffs at it, you know, if they come in at $7 or $8 million with incentives to get up to $10 million, listen, I don't understand why we wouldn't go that high, but still, I'd come in at $6 million and be like, listen, they're offering you $7 with incentives to get up. I'll offer you $6 million with incentives to get to $8. It's going to be okay, everyone. Miami's bringing home the chip this year. Go Fins. Love you, Pyro. Shout out to the homie Rhino Sith. And then he gifted 5 memberships on top of it. Rhino out here like the Santa Claus of Fins Nation. That's why he is the god of the Mod Squad. Robert Thomason, Chris Gifford, Topher, Jeffrey Ward, Jason have all been gifted memberships. Shout out to the god of the Mod Squad. Listen, I'm going to say this too. This Jalen Ramsey injury, Chris, I know it's not at the same position, but you've got a superstar sitting out there wanting to come here and waiting to be added. If you are going to lose talent in one area, you better make up talent in some other areas. And I don't mean some depth guy at corner. Okay? I'm just saying. Dalvin Cook now, I feel like the pressure is a little bit more on Chris Greer potentially, now with him not only visiting AFC rivals, but, you know, now this. Shout out to Russell coming through with the 5 memberships. Spooky Myers is now a member. Mario Gonzalez, Hammer, Maxie, and Brandon are members. Look at this. Scotty says it's Christmas in July. What's happening here? I love it, everyone. So, I mean, it'll really be Christmas in July if we wake up and Dalvin Cook's under the tree. Because like I said to someone today, I will throw up if I see him in those green colors. Oh my God, if I got to see him in green, just take me out back and finish me off. Seriously. And continuing of Dalvin Cook, remember another thing I said was, if he leaves New York without a deal and he goes to a team like the Patriots, who we all know are going to be the bottom feeders of our division, that really would be the telltale sign that he might be, as someone said earlier in the comment, a posturing world tour. Well, check this out. Jeremy Fowler yesterday morning, here is the exact tweet. While Dalvin Cook prepares for a visit with the Jets this week, he's also in talks with the Patriots about setting up a possible visit to New England, per source. Both teams have shown steady interest in the 4-time Pro Bowl. So it's been reported by Jeremy Fowler, there you go, that the Patriots, he's in discussions to go there and have a meeting. I don't know what to say. He's out here basically saying, this guy calls playing in Miami a Cinderella story. Chris Greer, you better get out the pumpkin on the horse-drawn carriage, all right? You better get out the glass slippers. Ramsey's down. If anyone follows, I've highlighted this guy plenty of times on the channel, so when I highlight people, that's my way of telling you to go follow them. Dr. Chow, Pro Football Doc, I've highlighted him since this channel's been started in terms of injury stuff. He said Ramsey will be lucky to play at all this year based on what's come out today that we're going to get into right away here about his injury. So this is no joke. Miami Breaker 305, you are the reason when Miami drafted Cam, everyone was upset, but not you. You were excited with that pick. Check your freaking pulse. You're damn right. Let's go back. Right? And then Miami Breaker 305, why do you got to get me all riled up, huh? Let's go all back. Remember, I even called people out. I called people out after that pick over the following days because I went back and I watched some of those draft streams and I was embarrassed to be a part of the community with some of those people. People out here jumping off cliffs, just dragging the Cam Smith pick through the mud, and I knew they hadn't even watched a lick of film because all these people were like, who? And if they would have watched the kid, they would have known he was arguably a first-round talent. And that's why I was propping the pick up as soon as we made it. While you had people, because I actually watched the kid. I actually knew who we drafted. Right? That's why I had 1,300 people watching live when we were making our picks, and other people were struggling to get to 1,000. That's why night one, when we didn't have any picks, I was at over 1,000 people watching, and people were struggling to get to 700 because they know who does their homework and knows what the deal is when it comes to the draft, and it's Phinside The NFL, number one in draft coverage in the Dolphins YouTube community, bar none. Okay? And Cam Smith, I gave you all the breakdown of him as soon as we made the pick, because I had watched the kid. I knew how talented of an individual we got. But you had people out here irresponsibly, right? Their responsibility to you guys is to inform you, not to just come up here and talk nonsense. Their responsibility is to inform you. And if they are not informed on what needs to be talked about, then don't talk about it. But you got so many people not willing to admit they're out of their depth and they don't know what they're talking about, that they got to give their opinion even if it's invalid right away in a knee-jerk reaction, instead of admitting they're out of their depth. So, in turn, they're irresponsible to you, the viewer. You understand my frustration? So, yeah. And like I said yesterday, I tweeted out, loved the Cam Smith pick when we made it. Love it even more after yesterday. Thank you very much. Reese's Pieces says, we will still win the East, get Ramsey back, and go deeper into the playoffs than I'm going into my girlfriend tonight. Oh, my God. Finza. Why you got to set me up and make me read that, huh? But, yeah. Cam Smith was a great pick at the time, and it's an even better pick right now. Just saying. And I appreciate you, Miami Breaker 305, for remembering that. You know, that's why I remind people, because I see people tend to forget, right? You know, they want to point out, you know, I'm the living definition in terms of my haters, right? They'll whisper your successes, but they'll scream your failures. That's why we've only heard a few screams during my time up here, but we've heard a whole hell of a lot of whispering, especially when it comes to the draft. All right? So, listen, you know, Cam Smith was a great pick. I don't know what else to say. In terms of Jalen Ramsey, let's get into this, because it's you know, basically not worst case scenario, but close to worst case scenario. Star Jalen Ramsey did in fact undergo a full meniscus repair this morning. Sources say knocking him out until December, while it takes him off the field for the first half of 2023. It is the best long-term health option for Jalen Ramsey. You know, obviously not the news we wanted, but he's not lying. That, you know, when you talk about long-term health, that is the best long-term health. Now, you know, will he be back by... There's still a chance. People got to realize there's still a chance he might miss it. There's still a chance he might miss it. He expects to be back for our playoff push. You know, and apparently he had a really good conversation in front of the team yesterday, letting them know, you know, it's not just about him. This is a team game, blah, 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 blah. So he wants to get back here. It's for, you know, but right now, because of the full meniscus tear and repair, it looks like, you know, he tweeted out that surgery went well, and, you know, he's going to attack this rehab and be back stronger than ever. And he's going to be a part of the greater story told down the stretch. Adversity is opportunity. So, you know, he's confident he's coming back. Listen, you know, let's just wish him a speedy recovery. And on top of it, above speed, let's have a healthy and proper recovery, Jalen. Okay? Listen, I get it if he can't make it back on the field by the end of the year. Does it push back us to next year? Sure. But, I mean, it is what it is. I would rather him be at his best than come back at 60% and look like a shell out of himself. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Especially, you know, hey, Cam Smith's going to get opportunities. Cam Smith's going to get reps. Kader Kohou's going to get more boundary opportunities and reps. We need Nick Needham back out there. You know, Trill might get more chances outside of safety now because of this. They're going to probably bring in someone on at least a workout and a visit. So, you know, it's not the best case scenario, but it is what it is. And we're just going to have to deal with it. That's at the end of the day, we're just going to have to deal with it. And, you know, listen, last year we lost Byron Jones, but we lost a lot more than Byron Jones in that secondary. We lost Brandon Jones, Nick Needham, you know, bodies Trill. Bodies just started dropping like flies, okay? This is one guy. So let's hope the rest can stay as healthy as possible, please. And Cam Smith, this is your year to shine, young buck. This is your year. This is a huge opportunity for Cam Smith. And he's got great minds around him. Javon Holland's into year 3. Deshaun Elliott's been around the block. Okay. Bethel, Keon Crossan, even though they're special teamers, they've been around the block. They've been on different defenses. You know, he's got good veteran Xavier Howard, of course. Jalen Ramsey is still going to be a method of support, even on the sideline and in the meetings. So he's got good minds around him to help him in year one. Not only be great on the field, but prepare, keys to look for, tells to look for receivers. So Reese's Pieces, sorry, Reason, had to have a laugh, bro. Real talk, our team is so tight and ready to go all the way. We will go far. This team and coaches are special. I agree, man. I agree. I still think Fangio can... Listen, I believe Jalen Ramsey was our best player personnel addition. But our best overall personnel addition to me was Fangio. Fangio can still make greatness. We got a great front. If David Long stays healthy, people are going to be talking about us having a top 10 linebacker at the cost we got him on. And we still have a ton of talent in that secondary. Let's not act like that secondary is not talented and deep. Miami Breaker 305, any chance you're going to the National Card Show next year? I will hope to see you there and take a pic with you. I think it's in 6. Bro, I want to go so bad. I want to go so bad. But the problem with going to the National is it's right when training camp starts. If the National doesn't line up with training camp starting, yeah, I would go. But I got an obligation to our viewers and to our community to be here for training camp. I scheduled my vacation this year. My first vacation since I started this channel in March 2020. My first vacation. Because, remember, I was supposed to come down for that Houston Texans game a couple years ago. And my whole family got sick. It was unbelievable. Really, the morning we were supposed to go. And since then, I've had to do my thing here. But now I've scheduled this vacation for... that week after the last preseason game. So, I'd love to go to the National. Don't get me wrong. And let me be honest. I opened up a jumbo box of Topps Chrome yesterday. And, oh, boy. That was a rough go. I still got a hobby box left. But you got to think about conversions, man. While you guys are paying $350 for a box of Topps Chrome, out here it's costing me about $450 plus tax. So, that was I felt like the Joker, and when he just lit the pile of money on fire. Oh, my God. Anyways, continuing on here, Ramsey, listen, we got to make – and hey, now we got a chance for a kid like Bryce Thompson, who's had a great OTAs and hopefully continues it through training camp when the pads come on. Maybe a kid like Bryce Thompson has a chance to quietly sneak on. He's been a ball hawk early on. Now you got a chance for someone to quietly sneak on who maybe might be a quiet contributor. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Over 320 of you in the room. Please smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. So let's start off today with McDaniel's press conference. I've clipped it. All right. The first about 5-6 minutes is going to be about Ramsey, and then he talks about Dalvin Cook. And this was a couple hours after Dalvin Cook was on Good Morning Football, so it was fresh. And we got to talk about what McDaniel said, because let's be honest, if you listen to his wording, he's flirting back quietly and subtly, publicly with Cook. And if y'all knew what I knew, which I've told y'all I can't publicly talk about, if y'all knew what I knew, and hopefully I can talk about it one day when all this stuff gets resolved and settled, you would understand why I say they're flirting publicly right now. So let's listen to this. First he's going to talk about Ramsey, and then he's going to get into Cook.
Whoever's going to try to beat me to the punch, obviously. Yesterday we had a injury with Jalen Ramsey at the end of practice. It was a non-contact injury that was his meniscus, and he is going to be having surgery at 1 o'clock today. Now, the length of this rehabilitation is kind of dictated on a couple things that could occur in the surgery. So it's the exact timeline, Barry, is a little to be determined. What I can tell you is I don't think the beginning of the regular season is really a part of the scenario. It's going to be into the season, and how deep that is depends on kind of what happens today. And realistically, with the way the team had practiced, you don't know these kind of things, but what was the most amazing thing about the whole thing was the way Jalen responded. He spoke to the team yesterday, and it really moved a lot of people. He first let everybody know how much he appreciated this team, how this team has accepted him, and how he has been in the league for a little bit, and how he knows that what we're doing here, in his opinion, is special for his position group, not to waver, and exuded all the confidence that he had in that position group. And one of the things that he said that was real cool for everybody was he thought it. He told all of his teammates not to worry, not to feel sorry for him. He's going to whatever timeline the doctors give him. He's going after that timeline and trying to flex that he'll beat it, and that he realistically couldn't be more committed and excited to join the team again this year, whenever that is. It isn't really up to him, and he knows that. But it was that adversity is not really an issue. It's an opportunity for a lot of guys to really come together and step up. So it was a team moment that was really put together by Jalen, and that's kind of where it stands right now.
How do you feel about the cornerback depth that you have on the roster now?
I feel good about the entire crew. We are dealing with some injuries now in that group, but I feel very, very, very good.
Kohou, Needham,
about
Trill,
the
Bryce
competition there,
Thompson,
and the guys
Howard,
that are ready
Cam
to go
Smith.
see some more opportunities. There's Pro
Keon
Bowlers
Carson, Justin Buffett.
and
There's names.
hungry young guys and everything in between. So it will be outstanding work for us moving forward.
The other day we heard Xavier Howard point to Kader Kohou as his pick for a guy to kind of make that next step this year. What have you seen from him going from his rookie season to now into the second year with the Dolphins?
I see determination and hunger to build on what
Let's go, Kader.
he's
Darth
really
Kader,
done.
baby. Let's go.
That's kind of Kader's a prime example of seeking opportunity, and every player is very aware of that. Last year we were sitting here talking about Byron Jones, and my answer to you guys was not Kader Kohou, and keep in mind every single rep, every single day, which is what our whole team's focus is. Those things, the results of those, the development, the consistency, and the growth, that determines who's playing and who's excelling, just like Kader showed. That's why you breed competition. You get as many quality players as you can, and then you let the chips fall as they decide, not as we look at a piece of paper and say, okay, it's that guy.
Mike, had Ramsey expressed any discomfort with the knee up until yesterday?
No.
Was there any sign?
Absolutely not.
Mike, just to clarify too, because it looked like there was kind of a collision with Tyreek right around the time the injury happened. It was a non-contact injury.
The contact was after
he's saying it's a non-contact injury yesterday.
It seems pretty smart in retrospect for the club to have taken a corner in the second round. What have you seen from Cam Smith, and if it comes to it, what do you know about rookie corners starting in the NFL?
I know enough not to project where they're going yet, especially this soon, but it is a journey. And again, we weren't talking, Kader Kohou played outstanding as a rookie. And I definitely know that he didn't come up.
I know a chance is long gone, my
friend. So I have seen steps forward and steps back. I've seen a consistent human being that is earning the trust and respect of his teammates by how he's approaching things professionally. Now, what does that mean for how he's playing? I don't even really think about that. It's more about intent, and you build and stack those days so that you can ultimately have a decision, but you don't prematurely decide, okay, he's doing this, whatever. I've been happy with his daily investment and how he's really seen the pros around him, taken some notes, and is learning lessons every day. Sometimes those are good lessons. Sometimes those are bad.
Probably add a corner in the coming days.
We'll probably have a workout, and just for like I said, I am very happy with our group. But we'll have a workout for depth purposes.
So there you go.
In the near
says
future.
they're going to bring in someone a corner.
About Dalvin Cook, he's on this visit to the Jets. He just went on Good Morning Football this morning and openly campaigned to be a member of the Miami Dolphins. Where is this team's level of interest in adding the Dalvin Cook?
Well, first and foremost, I think I'm extremely happy with our running back group. Extremely happy. I have great relationships and with some very talented players. However, Dalvin Cook is a great player. I kind of look at it like this. If it works on both sides,
He's flirting.
It makes sense for somebody. You don't want
flirting.
anybody. You're adding a player to the team, the organization, and the player. All the things that they both need to be met for it to work. So, he's a free agent, and he's visiting the Jets, and that's what I have to say.
I want you to listen to his wording here, okay? Listen to what he said. I'm extremely happy with our running back group. Extremely happy. I have great relationships with some very talented players. However, Dalvin Cook is a great player. All right? Like, I'm just saying, this man is openly letting it know that, and then he talks about how, right, you're adding a player to a team and an organization, all things they both need to be met for it to work. So he's basically saying both sides need to come to an agreement, but he's openly flirting with Dalvin Cook right there. However, Dalvin Cook is a great player. Like, you know what I mean? He called those other running backs very talented, but then said, however, Dalvin Cook is a great player. Like, he was all over that. Like, that's why I laughed, because it's so obvious he's flirting with Dalvin Cook publicly. And I've told all y'all, I've been told that he sees Dalvin Cook as what Shanahan, as McCaffrey to Shanahan. It's his McCaffrey to Shanahan. That's what he sees it as. And I've told all y'all publicly, but I first reported on the Patreon into the community tab. Listen, he's pushing for Dalvin Cook privately. That's not new news. And he's really, Russell even said he's stumbling over his words more than usual, trying not to say much. Even at the end there, well, he's a free agent, and that's all. Like, he kind of treated him a little bit almost at the end there, like, he didn't want to get fined talking about the player when really you can't be. But I saw someone ask some of the depth guys out there. We talked about it earlier. Troy Hill's out there as experience in this scheme. Bryce Callahan. There's a couple others that have experience in this team that are out there. So, I mean, you see it. McDaniel wants it. Dalvin Cook, we played the clips. He's like openly, campaigning for it. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But I mean, no one's hiding anything on that. Let's be honest. I mean, that was a public flirtation if I've ever seen one. And we've heard the running backs in the Dolphins room all come out and say they would welcome Cook. They want Cook. So, Chris Greer, Dalvin Cook said playing in Miami would be a Cinderella story. Get the horse-drawn pumpkin carriage out. Get the glass slippers and put it on his feet. And, don't let it strike midnight and him go off to New York or something like that. Get it done. Get it done. Especially with Ramsey going down. We got to compensate losing that talent somehow. Might as well continue to stack the offense. All right. So let's get into training camp. Let's get into the recaps like we do every day. And let's get into the first recap of the day from the Miami Herald. So, Dolphins training camp highlights, news from day 3. On a day the Dolphins began to come grips with the likely long-term loss of cornerback Jalen Ramsey, several young defensive backs distinguished themselves. Here are some highlights. In one-on-one drills, rookie cornerback Cam Smith, who will have every chance to win a starting boundary cornerback job while Ramsey recovers from knee surgery, broke up an intermediate pass from Tua to rookie Dawood Davis. Smith also was effective in 11-11 drills. Safety Javon Holland broke up a pass from Tagovailoa to Braxton Berrios on a short out route in a one-on-one drill. In 11-11 drills later, Holland broke up another short pass to Berrios. After Jalen Waddle caught a 40-yard pass from Tagovailoa on a go route in a one-on-one drill, Kader Kohou dislodged the ball with his hand as they fell to the ground. Safety Elijah Campbell broke up a Mike White pass to Robbie Chosen in 11-11 drills, then broke up another White pass to Campbell rookie tight end Julian Hill on an out route. Mike McDaniel motioned for a pass interference call against Kohou after Tua Tagovailoa threw an incomplete slant to Waddle on a one-on-one drill. In 11-11 drills, the quarterbacks were under constant pressure, with Bradley Chubb, Duke Riley, and Christian Wilkins leading the way, and not many passes were attempted downfield. The Dolphins ran a lot of blitzes, and those were largely responsible for the pass rush. Miami defenders had at least 12 sacks. There were no signature highlight plays from the QBs in 11-11 team drills, in part because of the relentless pass rush and in part because of good coverage downfield. Chubb wore the orange jersey in honor bestowed on the standout player from the day's previous practice, and Chubb was a menace on Friday with 2 sacks. He also stuffed a Raheem Mostert run. Wilkins also had 3 or 4 sacks, including a couple on Tagovailoa. He had choice words for offensive teammates after one of those sacks, and he overwhelmed Austin Jackson on one of those sacks. Riley had 3 sacks. Zach Sieler had a sack too. Jerome Baker put heat on Tagovailoa, one of 2 consecutive cover sacks, and Duke Riley and Chubb generated pressure on another Tagovailoa dropback. The pass rush didn't impact only Tagovailoa. Josiah Bronson, Malik Reed, and Andrew Van Ginkel put pressure on Skylar Thompson. 8 players missed practice, including Ramsey, and the 4 on the active PUP list were Nick Needham, Teron Armstead, Isaiah Wynn, and tight end Tanner Connor. Linebacker Jalen Phillips worked out on the side but was held out of team drills because of what McDaniel suggested was a minor injury after he was stepped on during the second drill of training camp on Wednesday. Keon Crossan was sidelined for the second day in a row with an undisclosed injury, as was Freddie Swain. Defensive backs Brandon Jones and Trill Williams participated in individual drills but not team drills as they worked their way back. Because of thunderstorms in Miami Gardens, the Dolphins conducted their entire practice inside their indoor facility. Undrafted rookie Brandon Pilley, trying to win the backup nose tackle job, had a run stuff. San Diego undrafted rookie center Alama Ulave had a couple of bad snaps, one recovered by Mitchell Agudier, who continues to have a strong camp. Malik Reed, competing for a backup edge job, stuffed a Gaskin run, and Raekwon Davis also continues to have a very strong camp against the run, and Jeff Wilson Jr. had an impressive inside run. He looked good the past 2 days. Cedrick Wilson, who's made available in trade talks this offseason, continues to have a strong summer. During one-on-ones, he caught a pass from Tagovailoa on a deep post, beating Verone McKinley. So, takeaways from this. Okay, listen, I don't mind. First of all, we want the defense to acclimate itself, the players to acclimate themselves quickly to Fangio's defense. They're gelling quickly. That was one of the questions ballgame had, et cetera, et cetera. Looks like we're off to a good start. We need these days, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this is the defense Tua and this offense has struggled against going back to, again, since Tua was rookie, his debut against the Rams, the Broncos that year, et cetera, et cetera. They're now going to go back in the tape, and they're going to watch, and they're going to see things, and they're going to break it down, and Fangio's going to come in. We need these type of practices so Tua can continue to unlock his ability against this defense, which I've told y'all, this defense is the final piece. This is the final piece for him to unlock. Man coverage, blitzing. He can handle any defense out there that's thrown at him. But this defensive, this scheme has been the one that has been a thorn in his side. So we need these days So him, McDaniel, and the offense can work the kinks out, and he can, him and this offense can get to beating this defense in game situations when we face proteges of Fangio or those who have adopted Fangio's scheme or a version of it. So these sessions are key, even if they don't go well. All right, from the Sun Sentinel. Defense dominates without Jalen Ramsey. Stock up, stock down from Flores. The Dolphins defense, playing without injured all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey, won the day in impressive fashion Friday, especially during the latter part of practice, recording 12 sacks against an offense that struggled to find answers on the oncoming pass rush and run stops. Defensive lineman Christian Wilkins and edge rusher Bradley Chubb taunted and harassed the offense for the latter part of 11-11 drills as they made play after play after play against the pass and the run. It appeared both Chubb and Wilkins got especially fired up after the offense cheered a 2-yard run by Salvin Ahmed. After that, it was all over for the offense. The thing that fired up the defense on that play was Chubb thought he made the tackle on Ahmed. Players weren't in pads, meaning there was no tackling, so it's tough to judge whether Chubb would have made the tackle in the distance of Ahmed's run. Some reporters thought Chubb was being blocked, so it was a 12-yard gain because Ahmed would have eluded Chubb's attempted tackle. Chubb and Wilkins, on the other hand, thought Chubb would have made the tackle for the short gain. Chubb was told by reporters after practice that Ahmed's run wasn't a 2-yard gain. What was it, 1.5? He asked with an incredulous smile. On a related note, Monday is the first day the players are in pads. So there you go. Sunday, that is the first practice open to you guys. Monday is the first practice in pads. Stock up, the defensive front seven. They came alive late in practice, led by Wilkins and Chubb, but also joined by Duke Riley, Zach Sieler, and Jerome Baker. Stock down, Mike McDaniel, the architect of the Dolphins' offense, had no answers for Vic Fangio's defense. Of course, it's only day 3 of training camp and players running pads, so let's not go overboard. We know the offense can produce, but the defense was dominant in the latter part of practice, and the offense had no answers. And he goes over the same injury report and their observations for the day. Tagovailoa had another so-so day, his second consecutive. He had some overthrows and one-on-one drills and didn't have much time to do good things in 11-11 drills. Credit Tagovailoa for 2 plays that shows how much growth he's made since last season. On one play, he threw the ball away when pressure was approaching. On another, he showed pocket presence by using his feet to elude pressure. Last season, Tagovailoa had the ball too long for times, hoping to get an extra half second to make a throw, or stayed in the pocket too long, hoping to get that extra half second to make the throw. Mike White, who took third-team snaps behind Tagovailoa and Skylar Thompson, didn't have an impressive day. He lost a fumble on a snap on one play and didn't appear throwing on the ball. Okay, this is interesting, guys, for this fact. If you are a Patreon, you got my update yesterday, and I reported that Skylar Thompson has been getting the majority of the second-string snaps from what I had heard over the first 2 days and a little bit at the end of OTAs. And now that we hear this, there you go, Mike White getting the third-team snaps. Backup center Dan Feeney had at least one bad snap to Skylar. Cameron Good had a sack Friday, as did defensive tackle Josiah Bronson. Good had a fairly productive day. Brandon Pilley had a tackle for loss against Ahmed. Running back Devin Achane had some nice runs up the middle. The significance isn't necessarily a result, but the willingness to use a 5'9", 188-pound, remember he's up to over 193, so this is an old measurement here. Achane runs between the tackles. Ahmed had some nice runs on Friday to be ahead of Myles Gaskin in the battle for a roster spot. Cam Smith had a nice breakup on David Davis on a pass run on Tagovailoa. Smith had a decent day overall, his second consecutive, even though he was beaten deep by Jalen Waddle during one-on-one drills and Tagovailoa overthrew Waddle. Kader Kohou made an excellent play against Waddle by ripping the ball out of Waddle's hands after a long completion in 11-11s, but Kohou was flagged for holding against Waddle on a play where he was beaten badly at the line of scrimmage. So there is the Sun Sentinels update. So that kind of, I had to point out that third string because that lines up with what I reported to the Patreons right there, that I heard, Skylar was getting the majority of the second team reps. So Knight says people panicking about the offense like we weren't a top 3 offense with Tua last year. Yeah, I'm not worried. And the offense will be even better with Skyler this year if he needs to step in, God forbid. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about the offense. This offense is going to figure it out against this defense. This offense is going up against, still, even without Ramsey, one of the most talented defenses in the NFL from coaching to player personnel. Let's be honest with ourselves here. Right? Let's be honest with ourselves here for a sec. So, SI.com, Elaine Poupar, and what they saw today, their highlights and lowlights and observations from the third day. In the first practice after the Jalen Ramsey knee injury, his defensive teammates did him proud with about as dominant a practice by one side of the ball as we remember seeing. And this is training camp 35 for me. In addition to the 4 players on the PUP, 3 others were missing from practice Friday, including obviously Ramsey, Keon Cross, and Freddie Swain. Brandon Jones and Trey Williams are back at practice. Jalen Phillips was in uniform but didn't take part in team sessions, and the PUP players were out. Bradley Chubb wore the orange jersey. Practice was held indoors due to lightning. It was all about the defense with the understanding that sacks are unofficial and subjective. The media members who actually watched practice agreed the number of sacks reached double digits. The sacks were a combination of good coverage, some blitzes not picked up properly, and then defensive linemen simply beating the pass blocking up front. This was my tally of sacks. Chubb, Duke Riley, Riley again, Jerome Baker, Chubb again, Christian Wilkins, Josiah Bronson, Wilkins again, Zach Sieler with Chubb, Sieler again, Wilkins, Sieler. Yes, not a good day for the offense, and Wilkins made sure to let players know on that side of the ball about it with a heavy dose of animated trash talking. Before 11-11 periods, there was some one-on-one work featuring pass protection at the far end of the practice field, and on one-on-one featuring receivers versus DBs towards the end zone where the media watched practice. Cornerback Kader Kohou did some very good work in that session with good coverage against Cedrick Wilson Jr. and Jalen Waddle twice. And the last of those was a deep pass into the end zone from Tua Tagovailoa that was on target, but Kohou was able to knock it away. Javon Holland had blanket coverage against Braxton Berrios from the slot before Noah Benogany did the same against Robbie Chosen outside. Cam Smith had a pass breakup against David Davis. Understand that those one-on-one wide receiver battles heavily favor the receivers because they're working with half the field. Malik Reed had a productive practice that included meeting running back Salvin Ahmed in the backfield on a running play. There were a lot of center quarterback exchange issues that included Mike White fumbling a snap, a slightly high shotgun snap from Alama Ulave. None of the quarterbacks shine, but then again, it's not like they had much of a chance. White, though, had a couple of bad throws over the middle that were behind the receiver, one of which allowed Elijah Campbell to break up the pass. Brandon Pilley had a couple of run stops. Devon Achane had the best run of the day when he found a hole on the left side. Cedrick Wilson had a great catch on the sideline when he reached up to grab a Tua pass, but that came up on a play where Chubb got close to Tua, and it might have been a sack in a game situation. The most productive play on offense was a completion of about 20 yards from Skylar Thompson to Tyreek Hill at the right numbers after Thompson stepped up to avoid pressure. Holland broke up a short Tua pass intended for Barrios by knocking the ball by reaching over Barrios' shoulder without committing a penalty. So even he says in his 35 years of covering the team, this was one of the best defensive showings he's seen. Brandon Pilley continues, hey, maybe when I was saying, do they really believe in a UDFA after seeing him in shorts and a T-shirt in OTAs that much? Clearly they must, because he's been all over the coverage today. All over it. Kader Kohou having a good day. Cam Smith having a good day. You just love to see the defense come together, unite, and play at a top level after losing a big asset to it in terms of Jalen Ramsey. So, very, very positive. Now, for Omar Kelly, his stock up, stock down report, it was, sometimes teams have statement games, efforts that send a message to the entire league. Miami Dolphins defense delivered a statement on practice on Friday, a day after losing All-Pro Jalen Ramsey for an extended stretch because of a left knee meniscus injury. Vic Fangio unleashed the team's blitz packages, and Miami's defense used the pressure to choke out the offense, recording at least a dozen sacks during 11-11 drills. It was the Oprah level of you get a sack type of day. I hadn't seen that level of defensive dominance in years, going back to those infamous Ryan Tannehill practices where his dismal pocket presence led to sack-filled sessions. For the record, you're going to get different sack amounts from numerous media outlets because we all saw plays differently, especially when players aren't being taken to the ground. Some people split sacks. Some allow would-be sacks to be counted as throws. However, we all come to a consensus that there were a dozen would-be sacks and that Duke Riley, Christian Wilkins, Zach Sieler, and Bradley Chubb each recorded at least 2. His top performers of the day were Duke Riley. He gave Riley the nod as the day's top performer because his blitzes, which by his count produced 3 sacks, and they set the tone for the day. Number 2 was Bradley Chubb. Chubb was the orange jersey player from Thursday, so the fact that he doubled up on a strong performance with 2 sacks indicates he's becoming more comfortable in new surroundings, playing for Fangio, his former head coach. Christian Wilkins, because we were inside the bubble and the offense was working close to where we were perched, the media got a sampling of the smack talk Wilkins gives his opponents regularly. It was animated and vicious. Right when the offense was gaining a little confidence after a respectful Jeff Wilson run, Wilkins became a force and got louder with every play he made. He was manhandling the O-line all practice. Stock down, the Dolphins centers. Dan Feeney and Alama Ulave both had errant passes that could have produced turnovers, but that wasn't the biggest issue the position had. Centers and quarterbacks are responsible for line calls, and all 3 Dolphin O-lines were unprepared for blitzes they faced. There's no excuse for interior players like Riley having free runs at the quarterbacks all practice. The protection should have been adjusted. I'm assigning blame to the centers as a group, and that includes Connor Williams. The issue must get fixed yesterday. Not today, but yesterday. So there are Omar's top performers. Wilkins saying, hey, he's giving you a little taste because we talked about it. You know, you could be playing with fire if you don't get him extended because he could have a huge year in Fangio's defense, and then all of a sudden, cha-ching, cha-ching, he's in that. He racks up those sacks, and all of a sudden he's in that $22+ million range. All right. So Cedrick Wilson and Zach Sieler, they gave updates to their status. Here was a little pack of notes from Barry Jackson after practice. He said receiver Cedrick Wilson is owed more guaranteed money by Miami this season than any Dolphins player who began training camp without a guaranteed clear-cut role on the team. But trade talks never materialized this offseason, and Wilson said he's happy to be here for the second season despite playing considerably less than expected in his first year with Miami. He said on Friday that he never asked for a trade this offseason, and it was never communicated to him whether general manager Chris Grier was trying to trade him. Grier had said in April, teams have called. We're not shopping him. We've had a couple of teams reach out. He's a real good guy. We're trying to do right by him. So there you go. He said, I'm happy to be here. My mindset when I left Dallas was put my best foot forward. Maybe I fell short of that last season. The goal of the whole offseason was to show up so I could play. He spoke of playing with faster and it's not seeming like I'm confused and running around. You will see me get my opportunities when they come up and the ball comes. I'm going to catch the ball. Wilson's competing with Barrios, Chosen, and Izakam, among others, for snaps at receiver behind Tyreek Hill. Defensive Zach Sieler, he made it clear he wants to remain a Dolphins. He says, I love Miami. I love it down here. And asked if the Dolphins conveyed if they plan to give him a multi-year contract. He said, we're working together to see what we could do, but declined to elaborate. So we'll see how that works out. As far as a Cook update from him, he just talked about how he's a great player, what we went over. Miami's unwillingness to offer Cook big money could push him towards the Jets. And apparently today Cook said his chance of signing with the Jets pretty high, man. He said of the Jets visit, just getting around to people that really want to love on Dalvin Cook. They want to share the value I want. Just trying to get around to guys that want to win. The Jets are at the top of my list, so let's go check that box. Asked about playing for the Dolphins, he said, yeah, still weighing my options. This thing is not over. Playing in my hotel would mean so much for me, my community, and for my family, just everything around me, just a Cinderella story. It's just something that would bring so much joy to the city, and I know what I could bring to my city. I would be a big for the city and myself. Cook and the Dolphins' financial visions haven't aligned in recent weeks. Whether interest by the Jets and report interest by the Patriots changes, that remains to be seen. So for his hot, he's got Wilkins, Chubb, and Sieler, and Duke Riley, who's not, he said, the pass protectors. And then, yeah, the team is off, but we'll resume at 10:45 on Sunday. So there is that from Barry. Now let's get into the video highlights for all of you from day 3. It's only a little bit over a minute worth of highlights, but still, and it's because they were inside. Let's rock them for all of y'all. Boys warming up, doing their thing, getting ready to hit that field. Love it. There you see the man in the orange jersey, Bradley Chubb. Go get it, young buck. Go get it, young buck. There's a Gizicom out here putting in that work. Love to see it. Love to see it. Oh, Skylar Thompson. Look at that breakup. Nice breakup by Holland there on Barrios. Huge. Jeff Wilson Jr., he just wanted to say hi. Devin A-Chain sighting. Let that kid go. River Craycraft. Tell him what time it is. 2 on the move. Look at this throw to Cedrick. Boom. Perfect. Good play. And then Tua putting a little air under it to Easy E, baby. Strut your stuff, young man. So those were some of the highlights from day 3. Finally, something I wanted to go over with you guys, just to put in perspective how lucky we are. Listen, I talk about PFF, and I show you guys PFF because, you know, every Monday we go over the PFF grades, and it's more so for you guys than it is for me. I'm not a fan of PFF. You know, I like some of their analytics and stats, but in terms of like grades, nothing PFF does is a gospel for me, and I see people out here trying to make PFF like a gospel when it's not. But you want to hear something really scary? I mean, this article came out. It's a good read. Came out on The Athletic, and you guys should check it out. And, you know, it's NFL nerds versus coaches. Battle is over. How both sides are helping each other win. Now, it's a good article, and I would recommend all of you guys go look into it. You know what I mean? Go look into it. Go give it a look-see. Trust me, you guys are going to like what you see when you look into it. Anyways, a portion of it, I'm bringing it up here, right here. A portion of it is, you know, about designing a system. And check this out. After the second preseason game last season, the Dolphins analytics department looked at PFF grades, scout grades, and advanced metrics and went over every play type. They decided the run-pass option, RPOs, would be the only way they'd survive the season. RPOs are run concepts with a pass concept attached. The quarterback can decide whether to hand the ball off or throw depending on how the defense reacts. It's unclear whether the coaches already had the same thought before the analytics department presented this. He reached out to former offensive coordinator Chan Gailey, but he declined to comment. Dolphins offense went all in, though. In 2021, Tua Tagovailoa had the highest percentage of pass attempts from RPOs since the stat began being recorded by Sports Info Solutions in 2019. Every time we tried to go away from RPOs and do standard rushing, our backs were just getting crushed in the backfield. So it bought us a lot of buy-in. It's like, okay, the nerds were right about this, but it's also not how you want to build your team. Building an offense from RPO is not ideal and is never seen as a long-term solution, but one that was born out of necessity. The results seem to be what the team expected. The Dolphins finished 24th in offensive DVOA, which is a tier above the bottom of the league. They had a strong defense, and the offense did just enough to help them finish with a winning record of 9-8. So, yeah, in Flores' final year, when we went RPO heavy, they used freaking PFF analytics to build their offense out. That is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, okay? That is nuts that 2021 season that offense was built off using PFF. Like, tell me Godsey, Studesville, and Gailey and all these guys didn't know what they were doing without telling me that. My God, that's awful. That makes me appreciate the staff we have even more. My Lord. Oh, guys, still well over 350 of you in the room. Please smash that like button, subscribe. If you are new, listen, I am going to be back on Sunday, off tomorrow unless the news breaks. I will be back Sunday. And yeah, Sunday practice is at 10:45. Expect a day show more than likely for Sunday. So we'll get it popping for all of you. Man, camp is here. Fans, first open practice to you guys this Sunday. And then the pads come on this Monday. Let's go. The pads come on. Let's get into some meaningful camp reps. But, man, I can't wait. And then preseason is just around the corner. Guys, we are not far away from meaningful football. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. Let's go. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to see y'all on the next one. And until next time, listen, you already know what time it is. Fins up. All day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we'll lay. Please do me the favor. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. And I will see y'all on the next one. Take it easy, everyone. Stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. Have a great Friday night. If I don't see you Saturday, have a fantastic Saturday. And I'll see y'all right back here on Sunday. Take it easy, everyone.